At 3:07 in the morning, I took a photograph of a flickering ceiling light on the 4th floor. My phone showed me something 3 floors underground. It showed my security office, my chair, and someone sitting in it. Someone who looked exactly like me. That should have been impossible for one obvious reason. I was holding the phone, 4 floors away. But that wasn't the part that scared me most. The timestamp on the photograph said it had been taken 11 seconds before I pressed the shutter. So I ran back to the security office and checked the camera recording for that exact second. The room was empty. No person, no movement, nothing. My phone had proof of something the cameras insisted had never happened. Then, the next night, I took another picture. The same person was sitting in my chair. Except this time, he had turned his head slightly toward the camera. The night after that, he turned farther, and every photograph was still exactly 11 seconds early. For 3 weeks, I thought I was watching something slowly turn around. I was wrong. It wasn't turning around. It was counting down. And when I finally searched the company's private records, I discovered 9 security guards before me had reported the exact same thing. Every one of them had been removed from the building. Except me. My file had only 4 words written beside my name. Asset stable. Retain on post. That was when I understood. The company wasn't trying to save me. They wanted to see what happened when the countdown reached 0. I need to explain the order of everything carefully, because the order is the whole reason I know I'm not imagining this. I worked overnight security for a commercial property management company. Nothing glamorous. 3 buildings, an 11-story office tower, a parking structure, and a low brick annex that was basically dead after 7 at night. My station was underneath the office tower. Sub-level 1, no windows, 1 door, a desk, a radio, a landline, a company phone, and a wall of security monitors. I'd been there 14 months. Before that, I'd worked security for almost 9 years. Malls, a hospital loading dock, a data center. I had seen enough real emergencies that normal fear didn't do much to me anymore. I once watched a man collapse and die at a loading dock. Heart attack. I called it in, kept the area clear, completed the report, and went home. I'm telling you this because I wasn't someone who saw shadows and immediately thought ghost. I trusted systems, cameras, badge logs, timestamps, reports, evidence. If 2 pieces of information disagreed, my job was to figure out why. That instinct almost killed me. My shift was 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Every hour I completed a camera sweep. 9 main feeds, 4 lobby cameras, 2 parking structure cameras. Then I entered the result into the daily activity report, the DAR. It automatically stamped every entry using the company's network clock. You couldn't backdate it, couldn't edit the timestamp. Compliance had designed it that way specifically so guards couldn't fake patrols. Twice a night, at 11 p.m. and 3 a.m., I also walked the building. During patrol, I carried the company Android phone. If I saw something wrong, I photographed it. Broken glass, water leak, unlocked door, whatever. Those photographs automatically saved with a timestamp and GPS coordinates. And this is important. The phone and the security system synchronized to the same network time source. Same clock, same company, same time. They weren't supposed to disagree, ever. For 14 months, they didn't. Then came Thursday, November. 3 a.m. I was walking the 4th floor where a law firm rented most of the space. One of their night lights had been flickering for several days. Maintenance asked me to document it. So I stopped beneath it, raised the company phone, framed the fixture, pressed the shutter, and looked at the screen. The light wasn't there. Instead, I was looking at my own security office. The image had been taken from the doorway, chest height, exactly where someone would stand if they had opened the door and photographed the console. The monitors were visible, the desk was visible, the chair was visible, and someone was sitting in it, back to the camera. My first thought wasn't supernatural. My first thought was, old photograph. That's it. The gallery glitched and opened an older image. Maybe I'd photographed the room earlier without realizing it. Maybe the person was the previous guard. I swiped. There were no other recent photographs. I opened the metadata. And that's when my stomach tightened. 3:07:42, taken seconds earlier. GPS location sub-level 1. My security office. I checked the time. Then I looked around me. Law firm, 4th floor. Glass conference rooms, floor indicator outside the elevator. 4. My phone was claiming that 11 seconds earlier, it had been 3 floors underground, photographing someone sitting in my chair, while it was physically in my hand. I didn't panic. Not yet. I documented it as a malfunction. At 3:12, I entered. Company device displaying anomalous image and location data. Photo retained for IT review. Then, I emailed the photograph to my personal account. I wanted a copy outside the company system. And yes, I finished the patrol. Because that's what people misunderstand about fear. When something impossible happens, your brain doesn't immediately accept the impossible explanation. It grabs whatever normal explanation is still available. Broken phone, bad metadata, corrupted file, anything. At 3:20, I returned to the security office. The chair was empty. I sat down. Then I pulled up the security camera mounted inside the room. Live feed looked normal. So I rewound the recording. 3:07:42. The exact second listed on the photograph. Empty room. Empty chair. No one in the doorway. I played it again. Empty, again. Empty. The security system said nobody had been there. My phone had a photograph proving somebody had. And only one piece of evidence contained the person. The phone. I went home at 6 that morning. I didn't sleep. I sat at my kitchen table staring at the photograph I'd emailed myself. At first, the person looked generic. Dark clothes. Head lowered, back toward the camera. Then I noticed the shoulder. His right shoulder sat lower than his left. Mine does too. Old injury, then the hairline. Mine, then the hoodie. Gray. I turned my head. The exact same hoodie was hanging on the back of my kitchen chair. I looked back at the photograph, and something inside me went cold. It was me, not someone who resembled me. Me, sitting in my chair, wearing clothes I hadn't even brought to work. The next evening, I arrived early. I tested the phone repeatedly. Photographed the monitors, normal. Photographed the doorway, normal. Took a selfie, normal. No weird metadata, no strange GPS. Nothing. Hardware failures don't usually wait until 3 a.m., but I still wanted it to be hardware. At 11 p.m., patrol was normal. Midnight, normal. 1 a.m., normal. 2 a.m., normal. Then 3 a.m. arrived. I went back to the 4th floor. Same law firm. Same flickering light. And I did something I really wish I hadn't. I took another picture. The screen showed the security office. Again, same doorway, same chair. Same person. Me. But he wasn't sitting the same way. His head had turned, maybe 15 degrees. Not much, just enough for me to see part of his cheek, the edge of his jaw. Metadata, 3:01:58. Again, 11 seconds before I'd actually taken the picture. That's when the malfunction theory died. A corrupted photograph doesn't develop between nights. A GPS error doesn't slowly rotate its head toward you. This wasn't random. It was a sequence, 1 frame per night. Something wearing my body was sitting in my chair. And every time I photographed anything around 3 a.m., I got another frame. Each night, its face turned a little closer toward the camera, toward the doorway, toward whoever was standing there, toward me. But the detail I became obsessed with was the timestamp. 11 seconds, always. Exactly 11. I started comparing the phone clock to security recordings. I tested network synchronization, checked other devices, compared emails, logged everything. 11 seconds. Every impossible photograph carried a timestamp exactly 11 seconds earlier than my button press. At first, I thought the phone was showing me the past. Then I realized something that made the situation much worse. The security recording for those timestamps always showed an empty room. The photograph wasn't showing what had happened 11 seconds earlier. It was showing something that had not happened yet. The phone was ahead. The photograph existed before the moment it showed existed, which meant I wasn't looking backward. I was looking forward. Exactly 11 seconds. Suddenly, the photographs weren't ghost pictures anymore. They were predictions, and the thing in my chair wasn't appearing after I took the photo. It was waiting in a moment that reality hadn't reached yet. Every night, it turned closer toward me, a countdown measured in posture, in angle, in eye contact. By the third week, I couldn't stop investigating. That was my mistake. The more terrified I became, the more procedural I became. Measure it, test it, reproduce it, find the rule. That's how I had survived 9 years of security work. So one Monday night, I performed an experiment. At around 3 a.m., I went to the 4th floor, raised the phone, pressed the shutter, security office again. The figure had turned farther. Now I could see one eye, my eye, not looking directly at the camera yet, but close. Then I ran. I sprinted to the stairwell, 4 floors down, badge hitting my chest, keys slamming against my belt. I reached sub-level 1 in under a minute. Threw open the security office door. Empty. Chair empty. Nothing. I stood in the doorway trying to understand. The photograph showed the figure there 11 seconds after the shot. Far more than 11 seconds had passed. So why wasn't it there? Then the answer hit me. I had measured the wrong thing. The 11 seconds wasn't counting from when the shutter was pressed. It was counting from something else. My arrival. Every impossible photograph showed the security office as it would appear 11 seconds after I arrived at the doorway. Until now, I'd always been somewhere else when I took the picture. 4th floor. Hallway. Law firm. So that predicted future never had a chance to complete. I never arrived at the doorway within the necessary sequence. The photographs weren't showing unavoidable futures. They were showing futures waiting for one condition. Me standing in that doorway, and the thing in my chair was slowly turning toward the person it knew would eventually stand there. I should have stopped. Instead, I tested it. The next night, I stood directly in the security office doorway. The real room in front of me was empty. Empty chair, empty desk, normal monitors. I raised the phone, photographed the room, looked at the screen. The figure was already sitting in the chair, almost completely turned toward me, and I understood something instantly. I had 11 seconds. I started counting aloud. 1. The chair in front of me remained empty. 2. Nothing. 3. My hand began sweating around the phone. 4. 5. 6. The room felt heavier. 7. Not colder, not warmer, just occupied. 8. The kind of feeling you get when somebody silently walks into a room behind you. Except the pressure came from directly in front of me, from the empty chair. 9, 10, then 11. Something changed. My eyes still saw an empty chair, but every nerve in my body screamed that somebody was sitting there. The phone became hot, not normal battery hot, painfully hot. I looked down. The photograph had changed. The figure had finished turning. It was staring directly into the camera, directly at me. My face, my eyes, my mouth. Except it was smiling. And there are certain expressions you recognize immediately as impossible. Not because they are distorted, because they belong on a face differently than a human expression should. The smile was too relaxed, too certain. As if my face had spent years practicing how to wear a human being and had finally gotten almost everything right. Almost. I have stood in front of mirrors since then trying to recreate it. I can't. My mouth doesn't move that way. I walked away from the doorway. I didn't run. By then, I understood distance didn't matter. I sat in my chair. because some primitive part of me believed that if I occupied it, nothing else could. I worked the remainder of the shift with my back toward the door. The company phone lay face down beneath my palm, like I was holding a lid shut. That's when I stopped asking what the thing was. I started asking a different question. Had this happened before? The company had an internal IT ticket system. Years of old reports were searchable. I had more access than I technically needed because, after 14 months, reliable employees accumulate permissions. So at 4 a.m. I searched. Photo, timestamp, wrong image, camera, person, device anomaly. 9 results, 9. Going back 6 years, different employees, different buildings, same company-issued phones. The language was clinical. One guard reported, "Image displayed does not match photographed subject." Another, "Timestamp discrepancy on incident photo." Another had written only, "Device showing person who is not present." I read every ticket. Each one ended with the exact same IT resolution. Device reimaged. User reassigned. No further action. At first that sounded like a cover-up. Then I noticed the dates. 7 months, 8 months, 7 months, 7 months, 8. The reports formed a pattern. A guard would be assigned to a location. Months later, they'd report the photographs. Then they would immediately be transferred. New guard. 7 or 8 months later, another report. Transfer, new guard. Report, transfer. It wasn't a cover-up. It was a rotation. The company had discovered that if they removed the guard early enough, whatever was turning around never finished. They weren't wiping phones because the phones were broken. They were breaking the sequence, moving the person, resetting the chair, starting again. So why hadn't they transferred me? I'd been at the tower 14 months, almost twice the normal cycle. I opened my employment record. Most of it was ordinary. Attendance, reviews, incident history. Then I found a management note. 4 words. Asset stable. Retain on post. I read it again. Asset, not employee. Asset, stable, retain. And suddenly every compliment I'd received over 14 months changed meaning. Reliable. Calm. Doesn't panic. Handles nights alone. Strong procedural discipline. They hadn't accidentally forgotten to rotate me. They had selected me. The other guards were removed before the sequence finished. I had been deliberately left in place because someone wanted to know what happened when it reached the end. I wasn't security. I was an experiment. And my calmness, the exact trait I had built my entire career around, was why they thought I would last long enough to complete it. That night, I finally understood why the figure had my face. I don't think it was copying me. I think it was me, or a version of me. 11 seconds away. Every photograph showed a future where the room had converted me from the man in the doorway into the man in the chair. Every frame was rehearsal. Every photograph was the room practicing my replacement. And each time I investigated, each time I photographed it again, each time I tried to reconcile the evidence, I gave it another frame, another step, another rung. For my entire career, my job had been to make records agree with reality. If a camera showed something strange, investigate it. If a timestamp disagreed, reconcile it. If a door opened, identify why. Close the discrepancy. And this thing had built a trap shaped exactly like that instinct. It wanted reconciliation. It wanted the photograph and reality to become identical. It wanted the record to arrive. And I finally understood what 0 meant. When the gap closed completely, the man shown sitting in the chair and the man standing in the doorway would become the same event. Only one version would remain. And based on that smile, I knew which one intended to walk away. The room wasn't haunted. It was making something, and I was the raw material. So I made a decision. If every previous guard had survived because someone interrupted the process, and nobody intended to interrupt mine, then I would have to do it myself. but running wouldn't solve it. The 11 seconds weren't about physical distance. Destroying one photograph wouldn't solve it. Another could appear. The important part wasn't the camera. It was the record. A photograph fixed a moment. A DAR entry fixed a moment. A timestamp fixed a moment. A camera log fixed a moment. Everything I did at work created proof that a specific thing existed at a specific time. And the more I documented, the closer that future moved toward me. So on my final night, I did the most unnatural thing I'd ever done in 9 years of security work. I stopped documenting. 10 p.m., I arrived normally. Relieved the previous guard, at 10:30 I completed my normal initial entry. Then I stopped. 11 p.m. patrol. I left the company phone face down on the desk. No photographs, midnight camera sweep, skipped. 1 a.m., skipped. No report, no timestamp. No claim that the building was clear. For 14 months, my hands had known exactly what to do at the top of each hour. Reach for mouse, check feeds, type entry, press enter. Now, I had to physically stop myself. The fear wasn't the hardest part, the habit was. At around 1:30 a.m., the phone began glowing. It was still face down, but light appeared beneath it, not around the edges, through the back, through the rubber case. A soft light from somewhere a screen should not exist. I didn't touch it. I knew what would be there if I turned it over. A photograph. No shutter press required anymore. The system had learned how to offer the frame itself, and I knew what the picture would show. My chair, my face, finished, waiting, the final frame. All I had to do was look. That was the trap. Not taking the photograph, receiving it, accepting the proof, letting the future become documented. So I kept my eyes forward. The phone grew hotter. I could feel the heat from inches away. The pressure returned. That impossible sensation that somebody was directly in front of me while I was the person occupying the only chair. I placed both hands flat on the desk and counted 1, 2, 3. The phone brightened. 4, 5, 6. My entire body wanted to look down. 7, 8. Something felt close enough that I could almost imagine another breath mixing with mine. 9, 10, 11. Something exhaled. I don't know if it came from me, the room, or the thing that had almost arrived, but the glow disappeared. The pressure vanished. The phone began cooling. And for the first time, 11 seconds passed without becoming anything. No completed photograph, no reconciliation, no final frame. I had refused delivery. At 6 a.m., the day guard arrived. She saw a 6-hour hole in the DAR. Saw the dead phone. Saw me sitting there. I told her the phone had malfunctioned. I told her IT needed to handle it. She believed me. On my way out, I carried the company phone into the parking structure. Level P3. There's a storm drain at the lowest point where rainwater collects. I dropped the phone through the grate, listened until I couldn't hear it anymore. I don't think destroying the phone destroyed whatever this was. The phone had only been the mailbox. I simply made sure nothing else could be delivered to that address. Then I went home and resigned. No notice, no explanation. A few minutes later, I received a reply from the same manager whose note had called me an asset. 4 words. Understood. Position will refill. Not will investigate. Not what happened. Not return company property. Position will refill. There is still a chair beneath that office tower. A chair molded by 14 months of my weight. And someone else will eventually sit in it. They'll receive a company phone. They'll complete hourly sweeps. They'll document broken lights. They'll trust timestamps. Maybe around month 7, they'll photograph something ordinary. And the phone will show them something impossible. Maybe the company will rotate them out. Maybe it won't. Maybe somebody else will be labeled stable, reliable, calm, an asset. And if that happens, I want them to know something I didn't. If your phone ever shows you something your monitor doesn't, do not investigate it. Do not photograph it again. Do not try to prove it. Do not try to make the records agree, because the discrepancy is protecting you. The gap is the only thing keeping the photograph from becoming real. And if the picture is exactly 11 seconds early, those 11 seconds are not counting down from the camera. They're counting down from you. I know there's a contradiction in telling you this. I'm creating a record, a fixed document, exactly the thing I spent my final night refusing to make. I thought about that constantly, but maybe records don't all point in the same direction. Every document I made for the company pulled me toward that chair. Maybe this one can pull somebody away. So if you're reading this in a windowless security room, if there's a company phone beside you, if your chair already feels like it fits your body too perfectly, listen carefully. When the impossible picture appears, don't document it, don't reconcile it. Don't let the proof finish arriving. And whatever you do, don't look at the photograph after the 11th second. I don't take pictures anymore. I disabled the camera on my personal phone. I don't keep journals. I avoid recording where I'll be whenever I can. People think it's paranoia. That's fine. They can think whatever they want. Most nights nothing happens. I sleep. But sometimes, usually when I'm alone, I'll see a black television screen, a dark window, a mirror, any piece of glass capable of holding an image. And I'll feel that pressure again, from directly in front of me, like another version of the room is waiting 11 seconds ahead. When that happens, I don't look down. I don't look into the glass. I keep my hands flat, and I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Sometimes, something on the other side exhales, and I know it almost arrived. The proof is still trying to get into the glass before it gets into my eyes. So now I have one job, one rule, one skill left that I trust. No matter what appears, no matter how badly I want to know if it's still wearing my face, I never, ever turn it over.